Hey, what's going on, guys? Professor Fred here. Just wanted to give you a quick video on the number line. And by using the number line, I'm going to show you a couple of examples where when it comes to your positive and negative values, how they would look on the number line. All right, so when it comes to positive and negative integers, all right, we know that when it comes to positive, because we can look at them as directional. Now, when it comes to positive, you're going to the right. When it comes to negative, you're going to the left. All right, so again, we can look at these values as directional. So if you have seen or familiar with like your the x and y axis, right? Then again, really it's like two number lines, just crossed in a T like that. So when it comes to your positive and negative, again, as you know, when it comes to your x-axis, positive is always to the right, negative is always to the left. And when it comes to your y-axis, positive is up, negative is down. And you can always think of it as that. It's like positive, you're always looking up. You know how it goes. It's like, be positive, look up. Know what I mean? And when it comes to negative, it's like, you're depressed, you're going down. So that's negative, right? But for this case, again, we're just going to look at the simple graphical representation of how the numbers look when it comes to positive and negative. All right, so let's see what it looks like. So we're going to look at the number line. Okay, our lovely number line. So always remember that when it comes to our values, we always start with the basics because a lot of times, a lot of our more advanced mathematical processes and theorems and stuff like that got to be based on something simple. So when it comes to our number line, which I'll create for you right now, a lot of us are familiar with this line, right? A lot of us are familiar with this line. So here I got my origin of 0. And you tend to see this in a lot of times definitely in algebra, calculus, all over math, especially when it comes to stats. You tend to see this when it comes to your z-scores a lot of times. And even if you don't see positive and negative, you're going to still see it in some kind of sequence where, it's going from left to right. All right. Even when it comes to probabilities, you're going from left to right. All right. So with the number line, all right, so a lot of our processes, as I mentioned before, are based on this simple concept, okay? So here we have the positive side. I'm going to go every 2. Okay, here we go. So that's your positive side. All right, so 2, 4, 6, 8, like I said, every 2. All right, and here is your negative side, okay? Okay, oh, no, I don't want it there, sorry. So the negative side going every 2. Okay, negative 4, negative 6, negative 8, negative 10. All right, 12 is there, 14, and 16. I do believe I got it right. All right, make sure. Okay, there we go. All right. And of course, if there's any, like slight mistakes, you can always let me know in the comments. All right. So the number line. Like I said, you have your positive, going to the right, negative going to the left. So let me just show you just a couple of examples of how we look at this. All right. So just a random number. I'm just going to say 6 or positive 6. And always know that even though if you don't see any symbol to the left of that number, be it positive or negative, so if there's not a negative symbol there, it's going to automatically be denoted as a positive number. All right. So if it's like, 5 is denoted as positive 5. If it's just 4, then it's denoted as positive 4, so you may or may not see a plus in front of it. All right. It's because you really don't need it, but it's going to be assumed as being positive. All right. So how do we look at this thing? So again, the positive part. So we already know how many units. So we know we got to go 6 units in a certain direction. The positive is telling me, oh, you want me to go to the right. All right. So with the positive, it's telling me going to the right. Negative tells me it's going to the left. All right. So I'll write that out here. So here's a side note. Okay. So positive, all right, goes to the right. All right. Or better than that, positive goes right. Positive goes right. All right. Negative goes left. Okay. All right. Positive right, negative left. Okay. So again, we can look at these symbols as simply directional. Okay. All right. So when it comes to, again, we know the units, number of units, which in this case is 6. We want to go to the right side. All right. So we're going to start from the origin. All right. So we always start from the origin. All right. So you always start from the center. All right. And I'll write this out as well. So another note is always start from the origin. All right. Or 0. All right. And I'll say 0 is the origin. Okay. All right. That never changes. That never changes. If nothing else makes sense in math, that part is going to be one piece that never, ever changes in all concepts. Of course, a lot of concepts never change either, but that's pretty much like one of the major ones where it's like, because that's the thing, if the origin moves, then, you know, then other stuff is going on. But always know that when it comes to graphing, all right, you always want to start from the origin. All right, you always start from dead center. And even when it comes to our number line, we always do that. All right, so always start from 0. All right, always. Okay, so now from here, all right, when you get that first number, all right, in this case we got the first number of 6, and that's the only value we're looking at. We start from 0. All right, and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now this is plus 6 here. Okay, all right, I'm gonna blow it up so you can kind of see it. Okay, all right, so that's what plus 6 looks like. So again, plus is telling me I'm going to the right. All right, the 6 is telling me how many units. I'm going 6 units. All right, plus is telling me I'm going to the right. 6 tells me, oh, I'm going 6 units to that same direction. All right, so in this case, 6 units to the right. All right, positive means right, negative means left. Okay, now what if we did have a negative value? All right, what if we did have that? All right, so let me copy my number line so that way I don't have to redraw it. Check this out now. Okay, there we go. Let me erase the original info. All right, make sure that there we go. Okay, now let's say if I had, let's say -7, right? Let's say if I had -7. All right, I'm gonna say let's assume -7. Okay. All right. So now the negative symbol is now telling me, oh, I need to go to the left now. All right. How many units? 7. So again, always start from the origin. All right. And that's in the initial stage. Okay. Always start from the origin. All right. I'm going to use orange this time. So again, we're going 7 units to the left. That's what negative is telling me. I'm going left. How many units? 7. All right. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you see where it landed. You know, halfway between -6 and -8. So that means -7 is there. So this is -7 units. Okay. All right, blow it up so you can see it. All right. And again, you're starting from the origin. So you always start from 0. All right. And then you count how many units that you're going. Okay. In this case, 7. Negative told me I had to go to the left. All right. So that's really all it is when it comes to your number line, is you're just counting the units. Am I going to the right? Am I going to the left? That kind of thing, right? So then the number will tell me, well, how many times am I going? Okay, am I going 6 units? Am I going 7 units? Am I going 10 units? That's how you do it. But the positive and negative would, again, will say what side I'm going. Negative, oh, going to the right. Positive, going to the left. All right. Now, let's see another example where this time, let's add a couple of numbers together. All right, let's see how that looks. Okay, let's see how that looks. So let's assume we had these values to put together. So let's say if we had, let's say -8 plus 5, right? -8 plus 5. Let's see how that looks. So if we're looking at -8 plus 5, right? So graphically, or better than that, first of all, if we're familiar with that, we think like, okay, we know negative 8 plus 5 is going to give us negative 3, right? Okay, now let's assume we're not familiar with that. We could see this graphically or visually. All right, so negative 8 is telling me I'm going to the left 8 units. All right, and the 5 is telling me I'm coming back to the right 5 units, and it should land on negative 3. But let's see how that looks. So I'm going to start in red. All right, so I'm going to go first negative 8 units, all right, to the left. All right, starting from 0. So here we go. So I'm starting here. So I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right here. All right. So I just went 8 units to the left on that negative side. Okay, so that's that negative 8. All right. Now I'm going to go back. All right, and put the number here so you know what it is. So that's negative 8. All right, now it's telling me I'm going 5 units to the right. Okay, and I'm going to use blue again. So I'm starting where I left off. All right, so anytime you're adding values, I'm going to start from where I left off. Okay, so check this out. So now we're starting from negative 8, and now I got to go back 5 units to the right because it's positive. Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now look where it landed. All right, so it landed in between the negative 2 and the negative 4, right? Which makes that negative 3. So we see how that value became, came to be, which is negative 3. So again, we went negative 8 units. All right, so I went 8 units to the left. All right, 5 units to the right. Okay, and I stopped at negative 3 based off of the information that I have. Okay. All right, let's try another one. Let's try another one real quick. Just so you can see how these values look. Okay. All right. So this time, let's assume I have these values. So let's say if I started the positive side, right? So let's say if I had 10, but let's say I'm going to subtract. I'm going to just straight subtract it. And let's say I do 10 minus 14. Okay. Now, again, all right, if you're familiar with that, if you're familiar with adding and subtracting positive and negative integers, with the 10 minus 14, I should end up at negative 4, I do believe. But let's see it graphically. Okay, so I'm going to use orange this time to start off. So again, the 10 is positive because there's no sign in front of it. Okay, there's no sign in front of it. So we're going to assume it to be positive. All right, starting from our origin of 0. So I'm going to go 10 units to the right. All right, 10 units to the right. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you see where it stopped. All right, so that's 10 or positive 10. All right, so that's at positive 10. All right, now that's what I'm standing at right now. Now I gotta take 14 away from that. So with subtraction or negative, it all means the same thing. It's telling me to go back towards the left. All right, so I gotta go to the left 14 units. Okay, again, I'm gonna use blue. So I'm starting where I left off. I'm going 14 units to the left because it's negative, all right, or minus 14. So it's like 10 minus 14 or 10 negative 14, however you want to look at it. I'm starting from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And you see where it landed. And of course my line disappeared. But you see where it landed. Here it is at negative 4. So this is 14 units. All right, so I'm showing you in blue how many units that was. And you see where it landed here at negative 4. So graphically, we see that it landed at negative 4. And that's just a couple of examples of, or a few examples of how you can use the number line, all right, to basically add and subtract positive and negative numbers. Now, just another quick, give you a quick bonus on this one. So let's say if you had, this one. All right, one more quick one. All right. Okay. So let's say if both numbers had the same sign, in this case both are negative. So let's say if you had -2 plus, let's say -4. Okay? Let's say if you had that. So conventional wisdom will tell me I'm going to end up at -6. But if you're not familiar with it, let's see how that looks. So I'm going to start off in red again. All right, again, with the origin, I see -2, so I'm going -2, which means I'm going -2 units to the left because, again, it's negative. All right, so I'm going starting from 0, 1, 2. All right, so that's where I stopped at, -2. But now it's telling me I got to go another 4 units same direction because it's negative as well, right? So I just went 2 units to the left because it's negative. All right, -2. Now another 4 units to the same direction, -4. Here you go. Give it a different color again. This time, again, love blue for whatever reason. All right, so here we go. So I'm starting from where I left off. Okay, starting from where I left off. And I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and it's right here. All right, so this is -4 units. And I ended up at -6. All right, so you're seeing that with like signs, when it comes to your integers, basically it's like adding the numbers together. So because we're used to adding 2 positive numbers together, we know how to do that, right? But if you have 2 negative numbers together, I know a lot of people think like, well, how am I do that? Well, treat them as if they were positive, all right, and just add them. But always keep in mind you want to keep the signs, intact, all right, because you may not have heard this before, but a lot of times the sign can make or break the problem. All right, but just a quick video on just to show you like how you can use the number line when it comes to adding and subtracting positive and negative integers. All right, so from this point, I would say practice, 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 study, 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 and just continue to learn and grow, and always know that it takes a lot of practice. And that's why I keep saying that a lot of times. Practice, practice, practice. All right. On that note, I'm out, y'all. Be good.